Welcome to Lickin' on Lending, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of the mortgage industry. Your host, David Lickin, bringing you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. Whether you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, this show is your go-to source for all things mortgage. Let's get started. This is Lickin' on Lending. Now your host, David Lickin.
Listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Lickin' on Lending. We have as our special guest today, Stephen Butler. He is the president and CRO at True. Steve works directly with the executive management team and organization with their business strategy. He has done so much to develop this company and create a true success story here. Stephen, welcome back to the podcast.
David, thanks for having me. By the way, it's CEO, not just CRO anymore. So just so you know.
Oh, good. Well, congratulations on that. We got to update your bio then.
Update the bio. It's been a year, but we just didn't update you. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, well, congratulations. It's no wonder with the success you've helped make happen there. You have really done some phenomenal partnerships, and I can't wait to get into some of the success story. But more importantly, I think it's really an opportunity, Stephen, with your success to start sharing what has made that success. Where are we seeing other companies get stuck? And I'm really interested in getting your perspective on this thing. It's really good to have you here. So what do you think is the reason for the success you've had? I mean, I know you're a smart guy, and I know you've got good strategy, and you know how to build relationships, all that. But a lot of people seem to have that skill set are not achieving the success you have.
Well, yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the approach we've taken really is to get really deep now with lenders. We want to understand their process at a very granular level, because at the end of the day, you know, we exist to drive cost per loan lower. I mean, that's the reason that True.
That's all, yeah.
That's what we drive.
And isn't that the number one mission that most people have right now, other than grow their business? But it means if we're growing it, we got to do so at a lower cost structure.
You got to do it. That's the value we bring. And so what I found, you know, and I didn't know this forever, but I found is that unless you get at a very granular micro task level with underwriters and processors and find out what they do and where they spend all their time and what we can automate and what we can't automate, you really can't do that. And so we're not talking high level anymore. We're down at a really good level with customers, you know, engaged at the right level of depth. And I think that's paid off in a big way in the last year.
Yeah, well, it obviously has. Look at the numbers in your growth. What's been keeping you busy lately?
What's been keeping me busy? Well, we just launched.
I know you're busy, but maybe busiest. I mean, all the things you have going.
You know, there's many plates spinning, but clearly the big announcement for us is that we got our MOS, product out the door. By the end of this quarter, by the way, we're going to have over 1,000 users on it. Wow. So it's really taken off, and the MOS is, I think, the first platform that combines this really advanced AI with a very advanced UX, user experience. Together, right. You get the productivity that you need in loan manufacturing. So I spent a ton of time making sure that it got out the door, that customers were successful with it, and then we're getting the message out.
Yeah, it's so good. I have a question for you when it relates to the cost of originating loans. So many lenders have invested heavily in automation over the last few years, yet their the cost per loan has not really gone down. Yeah. Why do you think lenders are feeling so stuck despite all the investment in technology that's supposed to solve that problem?
Yeah, well, yeah, this has been going on for a long time, and it's not just a mortgage industry problem. I've been in other industries; it's the same issue. You know what I think is required, and we do this now religiously. We have an ROI workshop before we close a contract with a customer. We sit down and we say to the customer, what is it that you need to have happen with automation that's going to deliver a significant ROI for you? And so, again, you get to this granular level and you're looking at these tasks. You say, geez, if the workflow changes like this, if the team changes like this, then we're going to get a significant ROI. So the way you get, if you stay at the high level and you make a top-down sale through a chief strategy officer or whatever, you don't get the users involved, you don't do these ROI workshops, you're going to get disappointed. But you can't lose if you've got alignment, and this is what you have to build for me and implement for me, and this is what I'm going to get at the result. If you get that alignment, David, you get the savings.
Yeah, and which really comes back to what you said a moment ago, and that is listening to your customers. What do the customers want?
Yeah.
Or what is it going to take for you to be more successful? And listening and then implementing in that direction. It's surprising, Steve, the number of people that, number one, don't ask the question, or if they do ask the question, they almost treat it with willful disregard and go down a path that they have a conviction for rather than what the customer. I mean, kudos to you for what you've done there. When you talk to lenders, there are still a lot of manual processes out there that we're seeing people getting stuck in. What would you say to those that are caught up in those manual processes that are not bringing a good ROI?
Yeah. Well, processors and underwriters, their productivity is not where it needs to be. I mean, there's a productivity issue in loan manufacturing. Processors doing 10, 15 loans a month. I mean, think about it. They're putting 15 hours a loan per month. What are they spending their time on? Well, you look at it, you break it down. They spend their time on document indexing and document filing and getting it into the right folders in the LOS and extracting data, keystroking data, doing all this stare and compare to try to make sure the data is accurate in the LOS and to the documents. Tons of data quality issues and quality control issues is where the processor spends so much time. And so, I mean, that's what we need to automate, because that's very automatable today with a platform like True that's got this great AI for understanding documents and data. So I tell lenders, let's get the data right first. Let's solidify that.
That's really good points. Get the data right first, yes.
Get it right. And then you can downstream do all the decisioning, because you can decision with confidence instead of decisioning with, oh, now I got to go back to the LO, back to the borrower, back to the processor to clarify things. This back and forth is where all the productivity is getting lost. And so we focus a lot on getting the data right. And once you've got that, man, it is downhill from there.
Yeah, it's really, you really can start experiencing the ROI. We've heard the expression stare and compare for years. I mean, from the first time we saw OCR cart really coming out there and be effective, but we really are seeing a lot of that still going on. A repeated manual validation becomes an accepted standard, and still is an accepted standard, Stephen, for so many companies. What is actually causing lenders to just get stuck in that mode, in your opinion?
Well, if you think about it, there's no other method manually to sort of take, here's my loan file, my file in the LOS, and here's the documents, and I got to make sure that they match. And so this stare and compare is the tried and true method, as manual and tedious as it is. And by the way, there's stare and compare, and then there's people that check the stare and compare. So you got another layer of QC on top of that.
Yes,
now, let me let you on a little.
It's in a heavy area of risk. I mean, to be honest with you, an unsaleable loan, so or compliance risk. So you can understand the extra due diligence that goes into it. But when you have a company like yours that can take that out completely and almost guarantee the results, I mean, that is.
Well, I'll let you. I'll pull you in and out. I mean, our machines are doing stare and compare. They're just doing it at an incredibly fast speed with a tremendous amount of accuracy. But they're doing the same thing. They're picking up a document. The machine is, the AI is doing it, and it's looking at the data and it's comparing with other data. And it's all being done in, an incredibly fast speed, and very accurate. So it's the same algorithm. It's just machines are doing it versus humans doing it. And 1,000 times faster, and with much accuracy. So
we Steve knows so many initiatives out there on AI. You can't have a conversation at any conference and they're not injecting. I just saw that Rocket put out a big announcement about they now have the latest and greatest AI that's in the market. So there's many initiatives out there that look promising, but they still struggle to scale.
Yeah,
I don't care what press releases you put out there. That scaling is really where the issue is. In your experience, why do so many of these implementations stall after they get started or have some early success?
Well, architecturally, they're wrong. The issue is about getting the architecture right, making it scalable. So at True, we built a complete microservices architecture. All these independent.
When you say microservices, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean that the services. First of all, you break the pipeline, the manufacturing pipeline, into different stages and different services that work, but they work independently. So the idea is that you can put a little bit more juice, that is hardware infrastructure, at a particular service that may be bottlenecking because it's got an extra load on it, and so you can control these different services individually to get the scale you need. And so you have to have a scalable architecture. If you do that, because if you think about it, there are many industries where the scale is way beyond what we do in mortgage, right? Millions and millions, you know this. But the architecture they use is the architecture that we chose. We have infinite scale, and I think that's the key, is getting the architecture right. That's problem number one. Second problem I noticed with a lot of vendors is they'll get it working for a prototype, and it looks great. Functionally, it's beautiful. But then
when you get it full in production,
you put it into production and try to scale it, it doesn't work. So like I was telling you, we already know that we scale. We're going to have 1,000+ users by the end of this quarter on the platform. We know we can go way, way beyond that. So we built the right architecture. It was painful the last couple of years. That's where I put a lot of my time. But, I hired a lot of people that know how to do that into the company. But now we're in a great place, really. With the AI we have and the scalable architecture, we're in a super spot.
Yeah, well, congratulations on doing that, because you've succeeded where many have failed. If a lender wants the fastest, safest ROI today, where should they really be starting, and why does beginning later in the process oftentimes delay results?
Yeah, it's a really good question. What I find is it's very seductive to go to underwriting or to go to shipping and post-close, and let's go get that automated, let's go get that optimized. The problem is that's kind of downstream, right? You want to get your data right first. I know I'm a broken record on this. If you get the data right first, and that's where you should put all your focus, the rest of those optimizations you want to do for decisioning and shipping and all that comes really almost for free, because you've got your data right. It's so easy now to do an income analysis if the data feeding the income tool is correct. So I think I tell lenders, focus there first, get that right. If you focus too late in the stage, you're going to end up kind of going backwards again, because underwriting's not going to underwrite the loan if they find mistakes in it, just because you started there first. So they're going to go back to processing, back to the borrower. So again, you don't want to start late. You want to start early in the process. Automate that first, and you'll be in a great place.
Yeah, when you're talking about data, do you find that siloed data, because we have so much siloed data in the mortgage industry, has this been presented a problem to you, or how have you overcome that?
Yeah, it is a problem, and so we have what we call a common data layer. So the data, once you get the data right, it's the same data that's used all the way through to manufacturing, through the whole manufacturing process. Instead of, if I have a different tool, if I'm using a different tool for different stages and it has different data feeds, then now I got siloed data for underwriting, siloed data for post-close or for origination. You want to have one common layer of data that everything feeds off of. And so that's, again, another sort of architectural issue that we sort of resolved early on and built it for that. I think we're the first ones that did that. Everything's interoperable. Yeah. Everything is interoperable, David, across the spectrum. All the tools work together against the same data layer.
Yeah. If you were talking to an lending executive today, planning for the rest of the year, 2026, what would you recommend they focus on first to lower their cost per loan? It is, again, an area so many are talking about, but surprising few are really frustrated with this.
I would focus on processor productivity. I think, there's great opportunity to lift the processor's productivity 30, 40%, maybe 50%, just by automating some of the tasks that they do every day. Let's give those guys a real boost. And so if you can grow from 15 loans a month to 20 loans a month, you need less processors, or you can put a whole lot more volume into the pipeline without having to do any hiring, right? And so you get a very nice ROI from that alone, just processor productivity. From there, you can move to underwriting productivity because now you've got data quality. So the underwriters are opening and closing the loan files a whole lot less. And so their productivity goes up a lot. So it kind of all feeds itself.
Yeah. What about scalability in the manufacturing process? One thing is to, you alluded to it earlier. In fact, you went there, is talking about not all automation is scalable. How do they not only get something that's going to lower their cost, but make sure it's scalable at the same time? Yeah.
Well, got to pick and choose wisely. I think the different services that you're trying to automate, for sure. But I think, I think that there are certain services that lend itself very much to scalability. You have to remember that you got to get into the LOS. The system of record eventually needs to get the data. So there could be some bottlenecks there that might be less scalable to do that. We've solved that with a different architectural approach for our integration. For example, with Encompass is all event-based, and so it makes it much more scalable. But I think that things like loan processing, indexing, extraction, quality control, they're very scalable services that you can focus on. And so I think that's kind of what you have to do mostly, is focus there.
You've already had so much success in 2025. As we look forward into 2026, what can we expect from True moving forward?
I think we're going to see some significant growth this year as a company. So financial growth is going to be significant, but more than anything, and the thing that I'm kind of really most excited about, we're going to hear about a lot of big success stories in the news. Customers that are getting big ROI, getting the results. We're going to see AI at an enterprise level be scalable and delivering an ROI. And by the way, you and I know that AI today, there's concerns about whether or not it's delivering ROI at an enterprise level, right? Not just in mortgage, but all industries. I think I think we'll see coming out of True and coming out of mortgage is serious enterprises getting significant ROI. Yeah. And that's a big story, I think, in any industry.
Well, I like how you started. You talked about we take the time to get to know our customers. We know them and we build to them, not try to cram them into fitting into our architecture. Kudos to you for success, Steve. I'm just really thrilled. I'm great to have you as a sponsor of the podcast. I'm grateful for that. But it's fun to hang with successful people. I always have to ask this question because I plant this as a seed for our next conversation we want to have with you. What's in Stephen Butler's head that causes you to think differently than other tech executives out there? What is it? I mean, because you are having success others are only aspiring to have.
Mortgage is not my native industry, so
I know. I'm wondering if that's not an advantage.
It might be a little bit of an advantage. I've been in 4 or 5 different industries, including the chip industry, of all things. Couldn't be any further apart and different. But it turns out that those problems are significant in each industry. It's all about understanding how to get value. There are deep issues in process and manufacturing that apply to mortgage. And so I think I'm taking some of those skills and learnings and applying them here, but not overdoing it, because mortgage is its own world.
It is. It really is.
You can't force what we did in chip manufacturing into mortgage manufacturing, but you can definitely bring some of that background. I mean, I'm an operator, and I hired a bunch of operators here, so we kind of know how to operate and execute. We're not just selling vision; we're kind of executing as well, and so that's kind of what I bring into this, I think.
Well, you have done an extraordinary job of that in 2025. I'm so thrilled to have you as a sponsor and celebrate your success here. Thanks so much for taking time to join me today, friend.
Thanks, David. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You bet. It's great to be with you.
Yep. Bye-bye now.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Be sure to tune in to each one of these podcasts we have, and they're all made possible because of our sponsors, Title Ease, Byte Software, First Close, Angel AI. We heard from True. We had a chance to talk to him, Stephen, today, but also Candid, Mortgage Bankers Association of America, Lenders One, Modex, Redder, Mortgage Advisory Tools. I thank each one of these sponsors for their contribution to this podcast and helping it get out to you, the listeners. That's what we're here for. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for the next podcast. We're looking forward to having you listen in on that one. Thank you.
You've been listening to Lickin' on Lending. Our passion is to bring you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. So on this show, if you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, it's your go-to source for all things mortgage. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Lickin' on Lending.